You want to make sure that you have the right professionals in your corner to help you make those logical decisions. Now, the reason this is so important is that a lot of times when you think about your business, your identity is often tied to what you have accomplished, what you've been doing, what you've been showing up for daily. So, this is something that you really want to take a look at. Sometimes, as business owners, we are just too close to our business. There is one massive opportunity that you are likely leaving on the table if you're thinking about or preparing to sell your business. You've worked for far too long and far too hard to have your life's work go for either pennies on the dollar with or without some thorough planning. In fact, I'm going to share with you in just a moment some statistics that will support why this topic is so important, why every business owner should pay attention to it. If you've made it this far, your business is thriving, it's grown, it's supported you, it's supported your family, your team members, their livelihood. You cannot afford to make a mistake when it comes to the point of sale. In fact, I believe that whether you're ready for the sale now or even considering it down the road, there's massive opportunity being left on the table and proactive measures that you could be putting in place to put you in an even better position down the road when that time comes. I'm Brittany Anderson, president and partner at Sweet Financial Partners out of Southern Minnesota. Our team has spent decades helping business owners, not only at the time of sale, but leading up to and after the big event has occurred. So, by working with other professionals who have expertise in areas like maximizing your business sale, supporting the teams throughout, and essentially how to put their money to work for them post liquidity, we've been able to learn from each of these experiences over the years so that we can continue to help people during such a major transition in life. So, before we go any further, be sure to visit sweetfinancial.com. There are a ton of tips throughout the website and resources around some of the biggest transactions in and around your business. So, those statistics that I mentioned earlier, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, a mere 25% of new businesses make it to 15 years or more, with 20% failing during the first 2 years, 45% failing during the first five, and 65% failing in the first 10 years. So, why does this matter when you're thinking about selling your business? The point is that most businesses fail. So if you've made it this far to this point in time, you owe it to yourself, to your company, to your team to explore every nuance possible to make sure that you're learning from people who've been there, done that, so that you maximize your own experience. So you might be sitting here thinking, I've already worked with some of the best professionals on this. I feel pretty good about the valuation that I'm looking at. I think my team's maybe already taken care of. Or maybe the bottom line is that you're just at a point where you want out. Maybe none of that stuff matters to you. Maybe you are just at a point of frustration and you're ready to throw in the towel. So, the question I would pose at this point is, what if you could turn potentially a 7-figure sale into an 8-figure sale, or an 8-figure sale into a 9-figure sale? What would that be worth to you? When you think about your legacy, your future, your family, the people you care about, what could that do for your future? So, I'm going to walk you through today's 5 key things that every business owner should consider leading up to the sale of their business, with the number one mistake that we see made being tied in with tip number 5. So, be sure to hang out with me for a few minutes. We're going to get to that biggest mistake here in a moment. So, the first tip when you're thinking about selling your business, you want to really assess the reason why you're selling. Is this something that you have planned on for a while? Maybe that was the goal from the beginning. Is this a logical or an emotional decision? Are you in a heightened state either way, where you're on a high or you're on a low? You have to be able to kind of take a step back and answer that question. Are you to the point of retirement per se? Maybe you're looking to step away and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Are you stepping away because you have frustrations with maybe either partners or investors? Is it your health that's affecting this decision? You really want to lean into logic here. And this is where the benefit comes in of working with people that don't have the emotional tie to the business itself. It is truly amazing how many emotional decisions are made in the heat of the moment that can potentially leave a lot of opportunity on the table. So, this is where you really want to do that gut check to understand what is motivating you to sell, because the rest of what I'm going to share is absolutely affected and influenced by whatever it is that's driving you to this point. And unless you're somebody who literally does this for a living, where maybe that's your whole job is you buy and sell businesses, then that probably isn't relevant to you in this moment. But if you're somebody who has worked really, really hard for a really long time, and you're now at the point of looking at that next chapter for yourself, that's where this self-assessment comes in. And that's where it ties into point number 2, which is you have to make some decisions around how you want your internal team and internal structure to continue. So, are you okay with jobs being lost? Is that something that you've looked at? Maybe you have a plan where you can help place some of your key employees into something else, writing recommendations, sourcing different strategic partners where you could actually help them move from your company to another place. Also, looking at if that's the direction you're going, how you're going to handle potential turnover or job loss for anybody who's looking to leave before that point of sale happens. So again, you're looking at this saying, how do I want this to look? The other side of that is, do you want your team members to be able to stay on? Are you going to have a business that continues to operate just under different ownership, where you want your clients or customers to have the least impact possible, so you keep at least the majority of your key team members there? That again, it's kind of two different polarizing viewpoints on this, but it's really important to assess and determine before you go into the sale, and ideally before you even start having conversations around the sale with potential buyers, be it internal or external buyers, which we'll talk about in a minute. Uh, so making sure that's something that you've assessed and that you've looked at. Again, neither being right or wrong, but it's important because it may determine point number 3 for anybody looking to sell their business, what they should be assessing internally first before that big transaction happens. And that is, do you want to have an internal or an external buyer? So there are many different ways that you can potentially structure the sale. And again, it kind of depends on your longer term focus. If you plan on being involved in the business for a certain period of time for a while now, you may want to look at, potentially having somebody that buys from the inside. You could grow internal partners. Maybe there's some sort of equity option where people can get some shares of your business depending upon your structure. And you have that be a very fluid, maybe a little bit slower transition process where you're selling off, but it's not in one cold transaction. The other option too is to look at and see if you haven't set that out. You don't want it to be such a long game. You could also look at having somebody internally that, again, you would trust with the business, that you've had good conversations around, that you see that they could carry the business forward, take care of it in the way that you want it to be taken care of, or maybe even at a whole new level. You can look at internal buyers that way too. Maybe you do want to have one finite transaction happen. It can be with somebody on the inside. As an alternative to that, if it doesn't matter so much to you about, who carries on the legacy, who carries the business forward, you may look externally at like a private equity firm. Again, the things that you have to think about is, how do you want your current team members taken care of? What's the motivation for your sale? Because that can often help you decide which direction is best for you. You may also want to consider, if you're looking at maximizing that sale price, maximizing your opportunity, that may or may not influence who you sell to. You may be able to capture more opportunity by going the private equity route. But it may be more important to you to take care of the client experience, the customer experience, the internal operations by having somebody step up within. I give this one example. A small business, the owners had sold to somebody on the inside, one of their team members, and they had a customer come in who wanted to talk to who they thought was still the current owner. So they have this conversation with this person, and they were like, hey, I just want to let you know this was the experience I just had. It was so great. It was flawless. I felt like I owed it to you to tell you how great it was and how great your team is. And I just love the process overall that you have. This has been nothing but exceptional. As an owner, you should be proud. And the person who they perceived was an owner actually shared with them, my gosh, I'm so glad you shared this, but actually I sold out over a year ago. And, I've stayed on to help with some of our client experience and to just make this transition smooth as possible. But that is a huge testament. I'm so grateful that you shared this because it shows me that, we did make this very, very easy from the client perspective and maybe even enhance some of our processes along the way. So again, depends on what your end goal is, but those are some things to think about that can help you make those logical, strategic decisions along the way. So point number 4, fourth tip for somebody who is getting ready to sell their business, leading up to that big transition in life, you want to make sure that you have the right professionals in your corner to help you make those logical decisions. Now, the reason this is so important is that a lot of times when you think about your business, your identity is often tied to what you have accomplished, what you've been doing, what you've been showing up for daily. So, this is something that you really want to take a look at. Sometimes, as business owners, we are just too close to our business. We are too emotionally tied, emotionally attached, especially if you are the founder. You're somebody who basically, it's like the birth of a child. It's like, seeing your child raise up, and you were the one to help spearhead, and obviously others were involved, but you were the visionary. You were the person that saw what was possible and helped pursue that. So again, that emotional tie can cause us to make maybe not the best decisions when it comes to that point of sale. So having people in your corner that can help you look at the bigger picture, that can help you capture potential tax efficiencies, that can help you pursue different opportunities that you may not be thinking about, that can tie it into your overall wealth plan. This is why having people like your legal team, your CPA team, your wealth advisory team, having everybody come together as a collective during such an important time so that they can work together strategically for your benefit. The other thing too is looking at your wealth advisor. You want to be working in this particular scenario with an advisory team that has helped business owners at the point leading up to and post liquidity because they've gone through it, they've experienced it, and they know how to advise on it. It's the same thing. You may have a great wealth advisor who helps manage your basic wealth plan, your basic investment strategy. But if they haven't gone through the process of seeing business owners through points of sale, through those massive liquidity transitions, there can be potential to have quite a bit left on the table. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with teams that have been there, that have done that have experienced and gone through and learned from mistakes along the way so that they can help provide you with a great experience in your big transition. So I can't harp on this one enough. This one is so essential, so important. If it's the one thing that you take away from this, that is absolutely a major highlight, major thing to really make sure you pursue is putting the right professional team around you that can help you through potentially one of the biggest transactions of your life. So this is where it leads us all up to the fifth point that every business owner should consider before that point of sale, but also ties into the biggest mistake that we see people make. And that is in forgetting to work with someone who has actually helped people to maximize the sale of their business. Here's the deal on this. And this is actually, again, that number one mistake. So let this be ingrained in your head here is that you get to a point when you're ready to be done, to move on, to maybe transition to a different opportunity, a new business, a new venture, or maybe you're just ready to relinquish that heavy load responsibility of ownership onto someone else and you want to fill a very specific role within the company. So, whatever that motivation is, again, that you may be determined in that first step that we talked about, you want to make sure that you are working with somebody, maybe 18 months, 2 years ahead of time, 3 years ahead of time to see how you can maximize the return on your business. Don't be afraid to explore how you might be able to improve one of the biggest and potentially most important transactions of your life. There are so many professionals out there that can help you to look at what maximizing your business value might look like. If you don't have anyone in your network currently that specializes in this, lean on your wealth advisor to be able to help foster that connection. A truly comprehensive advisor with specific experience with business owners and entrepreneurs alike who have helped people go through these types of transactions, they should absolutely have a network that they can refer you to. They don't necessarily have to be the in-house expert, but they'll have other resources they could refer you to where, again, there's actual entities, there's people out there that every day how they make their living is in helping business owners like you to maximize the value that they get, that they capture at that time of sale. So again, taking your emotions out of it, being sure you understand why you're at this point of even considering selling, decide how you want to handle your team, gather that network of professionals around you who can help you make those logical decisions. You can look at where you want to sell to, if it's internal or if it's external. Those are the things that you want to consider. And it's so much easier to make those big decisions when you have the right people around you and when you're working with somebody who's actually helped people to maximize that point of sale many times over. So, all that being said, if you would like more tips that every business owner should know, tune into Overcome Fear with our special guest, Lou Diamond. He's going to share what it is that driven entrepreneurs have that makes them thrive.